You know that feeling, right? You're bundled up in a big winter coat, and the second you step inside, you start overheating. It's a pain. But what if your clothes could, well, what if they could think? What if they could adapt to keep you perfectly comfortable no matter what?
I mean, really think about that. What if your jacket was also your own personal thermostat, automatically adjusting to your body's needs? This isn't science fiction anymore. Scientists are working on a revolutionary fabric that does exactly that.
See, most of our clothes today are kind of dumb. They're passive. A bulky coat is great for the cold, but it becomes an oven indoors. A light shirt is perfect for a warm day, but it'll leave you shivering at the slightest breeze. We need clothing that's as dynamic as we are, and that's exactly where this new smart fabric comes in.
So, how does it work? Well, the key to this whole thing is a really unique material that has a sort of built-in switch. It's this property that could completely change how we think about what we wear.
All right, so the secret ingredient, the star of the show, is a compound called vanadium dioxide. We'll just call it VO2 for short. And this material, it has a very, very special talent. This talent is a wild phenomenon called the metal-insulator transition. Just imagine a material that's like a tiny transformer. At a very specific temperature, it literally changes its internal structure. It flips from being an insulator, like rubber, to being a metal, like copper. That's the secret sauce. That's its adaptive power.
And this simple switch has a huge effect. When it's cold out, the fabric acts as an insulator, trapping your body heat to keep you warm. But when you get hot, it flips to its metallic state and basically becomes a mirror to heat, reflecting infrared radiation away from your body to cool you down. It's a full-on thermal management system built right into the fabric itself.
Okay, so how powerful is this effect, really? The amount of heat it can manage, what scientists call its heat flux modulation, is an absolutely staggering 480 watts per square meter. Now, to put that number in perspective for you, that is more than double the amount of heat your own body generates just sitting there. We're not talking about a small tweak in comfort here. This fabric has enough power to create a personal microclimate all around you.
Okay, but there's a catch. Of course there's a catch. The natural temperature where pure VO2 does its little magic trick is 68 degrees Celsius. That's 154 Fahrenheit, way too hot to be useful for clothes. So how on earth do you solve a problem like that?
The solution is just incredibly clever. By adding a tiny, super precise amount of another element, in this case, tungsten, they can actually tune that switch temperature. It's a process called doping, and it lets them dial the switch down to the perfect sweet spot for human body temperature, right around 28 to 35 degrees Celsius. Problem solved.
So, they've cracked the temperature problem, awesome. But that brings us to the next massive engineering hurdle. How do you take this amazing material, which is basically a brittle crystal, and turn it into a flexible fabric you can actually wear?
And yeah, that's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you wear a crystal? Because on its own, VO2 is fragile. It would just crack and fall apart the first time you bent your arm. Not exactly practical.
Well, the answer comes from pairing it with another famous wonder material. You've probably heard of it. Enter graphene.
Graphene is pretty much the perfect partner for VO2. It acts as this super strong but incredibly thin and flexible backbone. It's a fantastic electrical conductor, which means you can have active powered control if you want it. But most importantly, it distributes all the mechanical stress when the VO2 crystals flip back and forth, which keeps them from cracking.
And the result of this incredible partnership? A hybrid material that is unbelievably durable. It can handle over 100,000 thermal cycles. That means switching from hot to cold, back and forth over and over again without breaking down. That's more than a lifetime of use.
And while you can use a tiny bit of electricity to trigger the switch whenever you want, the most exciting part is the passive mode. That's where the fabric just reacts automatically to your body temperature. And the best part? That requires zero continuous power. Your own body heat does all the work.
So, this all brings us to the future. We're moving beyond the lab and starting to look at some mind-blowing real-world applications, from the most extreme environments you can imagine all the way down to our own closets.
And look, this isn't some far-off pipe dream. This chart shows the technology readiness levels. For space applications, this tech is already at level 6 or 7. That means it's already being tested as a prototype in a simulated space environment. And general wearables for you and me? They're not that far behind. This is happening right now.
Just look at spacesuits. The difference this makes is night and day.
The current system is basically a suit lined with tubes pumping cold water around. It's heavy, it's complicated, and it needs power. This new VO2 system is passive, it's less than a third of the weight, it has no moving parts, and it uses zero power. For an astronaut, that's a total game changer for safety and comfort.
Now, of course, to get this into our closets, there's still a few hurdles. They've got to figure out how to scale up manufacturing from tiny lab samples to giant rolls of fabric. They need to make sure the material is perfectly sealed up so it lasts for years. And of course, they have to bring the costs down and finish all the testing to make sure it's safe for long-term skin contact.
But let's just end by looking back at these incredible stats. A heat-blocking power that dwarfs our own body's output. Durability tested over 100,000 cycles. A potential lifespan of 16 years, and if you want active control, it takes as little as 1.3 volts. The science here is just incredibly solid.
We are really on the edge of a massive shift in how we think about what we wear. We've just seen how a simple material can be engineered to think, to adapt, and to regulate our world. Which really just leaves us with one final big question. When our clothes become this smart, what else is going to be possible?